Hi. So we have
Hello,
Pratap
Namita.
Bhai here, um, and he has come all the way from Rochester to Yakima. Thank you, Pratap Bhai, for
Thank you
coming.
for having me.
Yes. So, Pratap Bhai, I have this. I'm one of those people who likes to know, here is where we have to go, and this is how you go there.
Yeah.
And, life is simple.
Mm.
So, my question to you is there an address to happiness? Can you give us an address, so I know exactly which road to go?
Sure. It's a good question. It's a very fundamental question. When I start, I generally tell the difference between the happiness, as I understand happiness to be, versus the pleasures that generally we all use pleasures. Now, the pleasures means what? Pleasure means that you see an object through the sense organs. Hearing, seeing, touching, tasting. That object is perceived. And then the mind, it tells you what it is.
Okay.
And now, the object is very limited. All the objects of the world are limited in nature, in how much they can give you. How much can you eat ice cream? The ice cream is also, as well as your sense organ of taste, is also limited, right? So pleasure that is derived by senses and the mind says, I like it or I don't like it. So that pleasure then in that sense is dependent on the object and also the sense organs and the mind. And both of them are very limited in nature. So the limited thing cannot be in permanent happiness, right? Whereas in case of happiness is something that we seem to think that it is from the object. And one of the reasons why we keep changing the object one to the other, because we think that the object gives the happiness. So we think that the happiness resides in the objects.
Yes, I
You know,
thought
the cars and the house and
that's
all those
exactly
things.
right. I
Yeah,
thought till I get my dream house, I'm not going to be happy. And I
exactly.
have my dream house, and I really don't see a difference in my
Then there
happiness
is
level.
something other that you dream about, right? So that's the nature of anything that we seek through the sense organs and the mind. Now, happiness that we are talking about here, we first of all find out that objects in themselves are neutral. They don't give happiness, they don't give unhappiness also. So, one of the reasons why we then revert from after exhausting all these objects, then we say, okay, now let me be happy by doing meditation. Now, if your objective in the meditation is the same as to seek happiness, just like any other object, then that is also not going to work.
Okay.
Now, this when we come to the happiness is you will notice that the happiness is intrinsic. Our nature is happiness, but somehow it gets veiled by the objects. The object becomes attractive, and that's why our attention is there. We get attached, and all our attachment is nothing but our own ideas as to what that object is going to give me. We're not interested in an object. We're interested in what that object is going to give me. And that's the big problem. So then we blame it on the object. It's not going to give me this or that. But actually, it is our own idea that we get attached. And that's the real definition of attachment, which is problematic. So now we understand that the objects in themselves cannot give lasting happiness. Whatever happiness we derive from object is because our consciousness is already happiness. And if we can understand that the object is veiling it, so to speak, then we realize that I don't necessarily have to have any object because happiness is my intrinsic nature. So what do I do?
But can I ask you, if it is our intrinsic nature, then why are we not happy? Why are we thinking that happiness is residing in
That's
objects?
very good question. It's our intrinsic nature, but we don't know because of the ignorance
Okay.
of many years from the childhood. We have been conditioned to think that objects make you happy. So then that fundamental investigation never takes place, whether it is in object or it is in me. Because suppose object gives you happiness, then the same object will give happiness to everybody. But that's not true,
Doesn't
right?
happen, no.
So that is another proof. So then I come to myself,
Okay.
and then I examine, and then I say, there are so many instances where I am happy for no reasons. We see that, right? And then there are instances where we are so much interested in the object that we lose ourselves in, because object is so, like a movie, for example, or a game, for example, or the music. When we listen to the music, if you are really interested, then you will notice that there is no me listening to the music. There is only music. Here and there we can say, oh, this rag is this or that. But then at that time we are not listening to the music. We are thinking. So that gives us a clue that whenever there is no me, as I understand me to be, this body mind, is an absence of that me, there is a happiness. So it's totally within me. So now I start thinking about it, that why, how can I make that last longer? Why my me is, keeps coming back. So the whole attention then would be to understand myself as to who am I. And when you inquire, who am I, and you are persistent, you are interested, you long for it, then there is a possibility that you will see that you are not really that which you thought all these years to be you. And we can go into that a little later.
So once
But-
you do understand the reality of who you are, that you are not this mind body, but you are something beyond that, then you will realize true happiness, because that
Then you will see that happiness in the absence of me, that false identification that I had, will gradually start to reign in you all the time, more and more gradually. You will see that. You will come to that knowledge.
very, very
A
good.
couple of things, if I may add about happiness, is that this happiness we are talking about here is never your personal happiness. There is no such thing as happiness is personal. Happiness is impersonal. For example, if you see your loved one achieve something or do something so good, then you are happy, isn't it? So it's not necessarily you have to be happy. Anybody that is happy, and if you can share that joy, then you are happy. So that tells us that happiness is not a personal thing, it's happy. In happiness, nobody is happy.
In happy.
Nobody, no entity
No
is
one
happy.
body is happy.
Yeah. So
Very
that's a very
good.
important thing that you will learn as you keep attention on the right address of the happiness. Now you know that there is no happiness outside.
Now,
And we stop blaming the object that is not giving me happiness. And that's a big thing. Then what happens then is that all the objects of the world become, all the objects of the world are seen as there for your celebration.
oh,
Life.
oh,
Life will celebrate through you.
beautiful. So looks like this. We got the address, but it looks like it's a long road.
You got it. That's it. Yes.
And along the way, you are going to, in probably our next videos, tell us some shortcuts so we can go as quickly as we can, because we are the shortcut generation. We do
Now,
not want to take.
this
But avan
road to the
karvata.
happiness,
Hmm.
this road to the happiness is not a, it's a pathless land. In other words, there is no road that will lead you. So it's not a long, it's not a short.
Okay.
That has to be realized. But for practical purpose, we can say that it may not happen overnight.
Okay. Okay. But taking the first step is the beginning.
It's a beginning. That's right.
Very good. Thank you, Pratap Bhai.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.